What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Better Self podcast. As always, every week we have Gary Meyer from Fruitful Solutions, and today we're talking about limiting beliefs. Gary, what's going on, man?
All good here, man. Good to be back. What
Always good.
about this one?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one because I know, as you can tell, working with clients, it always starts with the mind, and then everything physical starts to kind of follow through. Is that kind of what you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's my experience over the last years, over the last decade as well. Like everything literally starts in the mind, right? It always starts with what we believe in, what our convictions are, and those usually are formed in the first years of our lives. And we just observe this world basically and take on from our parents and everyone surrounded by us and our environment, the society that we live in, etc. That's why in different countries we have certain beliefs like very installed like into the mindset, right, of the people. And those over time manifest different circumstances for us, because if we have a strong belief in something, it's gonna happen.
It's the truth. The manifestation is real. I think the biggest thing is you talk about being a child, those formidable years, like really, that's when your programming is like built in, like hardwired into you. And as you get older, the older you get, the harder it is to change that programming unless there's a traumatic event where you really, really go against the grain and you try to make a difference, like an active, conscious difference.
Yes.
So, and I think one of the biggest things is that you see with clients, it's like they're fed up with where they're at right now, and they're willing to do anything. So they have to change their habits and lifestyle. So sometimes they'll get frustrated. I'm sure you see that within like the first month, 2 months, they're not seeing drastic results yet until they really start getting in a lifestyle change and habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely very, very important. Especially in the beginning, you have to have a why, like your vision that you can hold on to, right? It's the most crucial thing to carry you along. And you have to believe in yourself. And a lot of people don't, unfortunately, because they are taught otherwise. And beliefs are always self what's the word? um they always produce certain circumstances that prove themselves right.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and it is kind of because when we have a belief, we are kind of like looking for the proof of the belief,
Yeah.
blend everything out.
Yeah.
So what we believe in is not necessarily always true. And we have to really identify those deep, like core beliefs to see through them, because otherwise we're just stuck in those perspectives. And then a certain perspective, if it's not in alignment with our true nature, gives us signs that it is not in alignment by producing certain emotions. Emotions are nothing but guidance. They're here to guide us into alignment. So whenever we have a negative belief or a negative emotional response to a negative belief or a lack belief, what most of us have installed in some form, um, this negative emotion is there to show us like, oh, I'm holding on to something that is not necessarily true. So let me step back, let me pause for a second here, and let me investigate what it is that I'm believing in that makes me have this negative emotion coming up right now.
You just end the recording right there. It's like don't do limiting beliefs. It's amazing. It's so well said because obviously, we were talking about how your belief system is made up when you're young, and then you kind of start forming this identity, this belief system, and then all the while you're seeing the world in a certain perspective. So you may feel a certain way, and I posted a reel the other day where it's like, man, this girl will never like me. It's like that's a belief, that's an identity that does not exist,
Yep.
but it exists in your own paradigm, your own world, your own belief system. And once you're able to think outside of that and operate at a higher vibration, because all that other stuff is very low vibration. It's, guilt, shame, depression, like it's all very low vibration. And when you're operating in such low vibration and low energy, you're going to always attract that. And the analogy that I give is like it's an AM FM radio, where it's like you have a frequency, you tune into the radio towers at a certain station. It's no different with energy and vibration. So
Yes.
once you're able to elevate, you're able to attract what's really meant for you. But first, I even came across a video of Jim Rohn. That's Tony Robbins' obviously mentor. But the first thing is like, in order to become a millionaire, you have to act like a millionaire. And I think a lot of people want the Ferrari, they want the nice house, they want the beautiful wife, but they're not, thinking about all that they have to be in order to become that. So, and that's the scariest part of the journey, is that self-introspection.
Yes, exactly. So first you have to think like a millionaire if that's your goal, right? You have to feel it. And then that will lead to the action eventually. But all of that has to be in alignment. If you don't feel and think like the person you want to become, it's not going to happen.
Done. Exactly. That's it. So, and that's
Yeah,
the same thing.
choose. You have to make the choice to be a different person. And of course, so many people are stuck in their beliefs and just live their lives miserable, right? And it's very, very sad to see. But that's like what we have to get out. We all have the opportunity if we want to.
Absolutely. I think so. It's sad to see people that live like that as well, when you know that their potential can be so much more than, what they're operating their life at. But I think the saddest thing ever is when people feel, and I'm sure you know this and you've heard this as well, is that when they feel hopeless, that they can't change, that they are stuck in the life that they're living, the matrix per se, which it really is no different, where it's you're a slave to your own mind at this point in time, where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just destined to make 60,000 a year. I'm destined to go to the bar after work. I'm destined to, have a terrible relationship and live this life alone. It's like they're so stuck in those beliefs that they don't feel that they can change. I mean, what advice would you give to those people that are really stuck in their identity and don't know how to get out of it?
Don't focus on your circumstances. Because if you're always reacting to what is right now, you're stuck in a loop. You won't come out of it. Because then you will create the same situation over and over, and it will probably get worse over time because you're not reacting to your emotional guidance system, which is here to tell you, like I said, that you're focusing on wrong perspectives. And it gets louder and louder. I think most people experience that in their lifetime until it's so severe that they feel like, oh, I have to change something. I can't live like this anymore. So my advice would be to not pay attention so much to what is right now and be more in your mind and imagineer what you want to experience and really make it so real in your mind that you feel your new persona.
Yeah. So one of the best pieces of advice that I've given people like going through breakups and things like that, and I think this pertains a lot to it, is they're like, well, what's the first thing after you get broken up with or something? How do I get my ex back? How do I get my ex back? You're attached to an outcome. And if that is really what you want to do, and the first thing you have to do, and the best advice that I have ever received or given was, you cannot be that same person at the end of that breakup. You have to shift. You have to have a new mindset of this new person that you're going to be in order to attract that. Because it's the same thing with anything. If you want to be out of your identity and shift your identity, you have to formulate this new person. You have to create this identity. And oftentimes it's hard and challenging for people to really break through. And I was talking to my younger brother yesterday, well, actually this morning, and he was telling me last night, he woke up this morning and he's like, man, kind of upset about how this interaction with this person. And I go, Chad, I go, you woke up this morning, and I go, you're talking about interaction that didn't make you feel good last night. I go, how does that help you? And it's the analogy of anytime you decide to continue on your identity and live in that paradigm, it's like you're digging that shovel deeper, just like one scoop at a time. And you have really the conscious choice of, do I live as someone else right now because I don't like being this person, you know?
Dude, you can always be the victim if you choose to be. Or you can choose to see how this circumstance can benefit you, like you just said. You always have those two choices, right? And one is empowering and the other one's not so much. And a breakup is such an amazing example, because we can learn so much about ourselves from a breakup, because it's the closest person to us, right, that doesn't want to live with us anymore, for example. So what does that tell you? And then, like you said, a lot of people want their ex back, but why? May not even be the best person for you. So I always believe in the perfection of everything, because obviously a breakup in the first moment doesn't feel good, right? Which is a negative emotion. Shows you, oh, wrong perspective. Okay, let me change my perspective about it, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. How many times did we have this experience in the past where we went through a challenging time, and then 1, 2, 5 years later, we look back at it and we think, oh, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I'm so grateful for it. So this breakup might be a really, really great thing that happened to you, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment. But maybe it gives you the opportunity to meet your lifetime partner a year later, which otherwise wouldn't happen. You don't know that. So having the trust and the faith that everything is perfectly timed and for your advantage is a very powerful perspective to hold on to.
It's amazing. So you gave the option of, there's two perspectives. It's I can ruminate and I can be upset and think life is happening to me, or you have the other perspective and it's completely binary where you're like, everything that is happening right now is what is meant to be. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for the time spent. I'm grateful for the new adventures ahead. And whichever one you pick, I mean, one is toxic and one is, planting seeds for the future, you know.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
for myself, when clients come to me and they're more so stuck on, well, how do I change? How do I create this person? I have them write out like my ideal self. I'm like, if you were to have a perfect day, Gary, what would your day look like? What would you look like? What would you act like? What would be the things that you accomplish that day? And that way you have a clear cut vision. And then on the other side, it's kind of the anti-role model. Where am I at right now? What do my days look like? And then when you're able to see that it's so tangible, you're able to make that shift. And then you're like, all I have to do is operate as close to this day as possible, as close to Gary's perfect day as possible. And I'm going to get the results. I'm going to shift. I'm no longer going to be living as my identity right now. I'm going to be living as my ideal self. I mean, what do you see with your clients, and what kind of things do you guys do?
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing, I would say, because it's always good to get an evaluation of what is right now, what is happening right now, how the day is flowing when it comes to diet, but also mentally. And then where do I want to be in the future? What is my goal? How do I want to feel on a daily basis? And what do I have to do to accomplish that? And it definitely requires a personality shift and to let go of a lot of ego identifications, to make it happen. Because if you do the same thing over and over and expect different results, you're insane, right? That's what Albert Einstein said. So you just have to make the choice to make a difference in your life for the better. You have to stand up for yourself, empower yourself. In the morning, wake up, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and say, I love you. You're perfect.
Yeah. And have you ever seen that test on water? I thought that was the craziest thing, is how you speak to water. Did you ever see that test?
Mhm.
The molecules, how they shift. I mean, you want to almost say it's unbelievable, but you just obviously it makes sense. You know what I mean? So I mean, we're all made up of molecules and energy and vibration. I mean, that's what this whole world and universe is made up of. And really how you treat that manifest into that. I mean, it really makes like all the world of difference. People are really, I mean, you want to say like the captain of your ship, the master of your destiny. I mean, all these great quotes that have been said by some of the greatest minds ever. It's like success leaves clues, man. There's a way to live your life, and you are completely in charge of that. You are the author of your book.
Absolutely. Do you know Luke Belmar?
That sounds so familiar, but
Um, but he always says everyone's self-made, but only the successful will admit it.
got it.
Great quote.
Yeah, that is a great quote, honestly.
Yeah.
So
We have to stand up for everything we do. Everything is self-made, even if we don't like the circumstance we are in. We created it, and it's our responsibility. And we have the power to change everything. As long as you hold on to that perspective and you're not in the victimhood, like you said, like everything happens to me, you're good.
yeah, and I've always had the theory of not always, but when you're a younger kid and you're trying to find your way as becoming a man, you you really start to learn one day that if you take accountability for everything in your life, say this is my fault, this is my fault, this is my fault, based on the decisions that you make, regardless if it was your fault or not, it is always in your control, essentially, because your perspective is in control no matter what. I mean, there may be a tornado that takes your house out and feel like it's my fault for living here. You know what I mean? And it's not beating yourself up, but it is the mastering like accountability factor where it's like, I'm gonna figure this out. It's going to be okay. And
Yep.
you're gonna push on and it's gonna be your accountability and your fault when you stumble upon success, essentially. So it's the same thing where it's tricking your mind to the point where it's like, I'm in control of this, I'm in control of my day-to-day, and I am the writer of this book.
Yeah, exactly. And it's totally fine to make mistakes because we can always learn from them. No one's here for perfectionism, basically. No one has a perfect life. It doesn't exist. We're here for the mess as well, to learn and grow from it. So that's totally fine, but always be aware that it's all like self-created.
Yeah, and that's beautifully said. And one of my biggest things is oftentimes, and it's the same with you. Sure, we get clients where they're like, "Man, I messed up. I did this, this, this," and I'm like, "So what's the alternative? That you're perfect? You think you came to be here on Earth to be perfect?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You're here for the lessons. You were here for the journey. You were here for the growth of the individual that you are." I go, what would you learn at the end of life if you had nothing, no trial and tribulations? I go, that's what life is. It's all perception at the end of the day as well. So depending on how you perceive it, it could be a bad situation, but if you perceive it as negative, you're going to make yourself suffer instead of just letting it pass and realizing that it's just like a storm. The clouds are above you, but they will pass like any other storm.
Exactly. And yeah, especially when it comes to clients and their like diet transition, like, dude, in the beginning of my transition, I slipped up so many times. I can't even tell you. Um, and in the beginning, I was beating up myself about it as well until I realized, like, no, this is actually a great experience. So there was a perspective shift. This is a great opportunity because now I have a little bit of experience of like how I can really feel like on a clean diet. Feels amazing, right? You have so much energy, your mind is clear, etc. But then when you go back, you slip up, um, and that changes again, and your energy drops, and you have brain fog and all of that bullshit. So that gives you the opportunity, though, to make a clear decision, like what you really want and how you want to feel. So it's a contrast experience, which most people need in order to evolve because like we're so used to living the way we do. So there's no difference. There's no contrast. So people just think like, oh, this is how I feel. Like everyone has a little pain here and there. That's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Um, but you don't have the contrast experience of feeling incredible. So
Yeah.
you and you
It's
need to go back and forth in order to really make the decision for the long term.
absolutely so well said, man. You've been on fire today. Honestly, I just got to give it to you. But it's the same thing. There's two things, obviously. One, we spoke a year ago on why I set out for this journey. There's multiple reasons, but there's one specifically, and it was like more so, I can't wait till this detox is over with. I can't wait till this detox is over with. And
Mhm.
then as soon as I flipped my mindset to I love this journey and who I'm becoming on this journey. Like I'm grateful for this journey. I'm happy for this journey. I'm happy for the growth. And it's again, man, there's just that perspective shift that we both talk about being early on where you're like, dude, I don't want to even like do this. I'm making myself feel bad about this. But once you flip it, it's like it makes it so much more enjoyable. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you're either making yourself miserable or enjoyable. And the second thing I was gonna say was my dad was like, "Man, it's just part of getting old." As he's like drinking a beer and his knee's swollen, he's got ice on his knee, and I'm like, man, that is not. So there's obviously an identity that you set for yourself, but then there's also like a broad general identity that people hold on to, like a belief system that really everyday walking people do that really like need to hear really what Gary's saying um, to really realize that you can be 60 years old and you could be running marathons. You could be however you choose to dictate your life, however you choose to live your life. I mean, again, I can't say it enough, but you are the author.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just firmly
And
believe.
there's like this great article out there about a group of like dancers in their 70s, like this group of women who like do performances like
Oh,
many
wow.
times a week. And they're all in their 70s, but
Wow.
they have the perspective of themselves like we are dancers, we are fit, we are active,
For
and
sure.
that's what's happening. So they're good.
There you go.
So
Because
it's all up here.
it's like, what paradigm are you living in here that's creating your external? Like, you think about like Henry Ford thinking the combustible engine. That was just an idea in a man's head at one point that became reality. But it's the same thing with anything. I mean, it all starts up here, and it's like there's that common saying that is like it can be cheesy, but I love it. But it's like if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. But it's the truth, man. And for all these people, if we could give any advice to them, it's really just create that vision of who you want to be and start implementing things that get you to that point. And it doesn't
Right.
have to be 12 daily things, but it's like if you choose one thing where you're like, for breakfast, I'm just gonna have lemon water and fruit,
Yep.
dude. The
That's
compound effect of that, night and day.
yeah. And everyone should read that book by Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect, for sure.
So good.
It's incredible because it is really about those small changes over time that compound and make you feel amazing. But it also, of course, works the other way around. So it's like maybe you implement one really good habit, just like you said, having the lemon water and fruit breakfast, and then eliminating one small thing that's maybe not so optimal. And over the course of a year, you will have such a tremendous difference just
Yeah,
from it's very like small changes.
yeah. It's so spot on. And it's funny that that's probably subconsciously where my brain's at. And this goes to everybody who's listening because I just read The Compound Effect, just finished it. So immediately subconscious implementation of that exactly. And there's obviously always that thing where it's like, do you want 5 million today or a penny a day doubled over 31 days? And it turns
Yeah,
out to be like $8-10 million. But you think
exactly.
about a penny compounding, think about just if you were to replace your, McDonald's whatever. If you just took out your McDonald's breakfast in the morning and implemented fruit, dude, I mean, come on. I mean, it's one small change daily that will change your entire life, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So,
It doesn't have to be hard. Most people think like, oh, I have to change everything overnight. That's
no,
not true. You don't have to. No one wants that. That's super hardcore. We have so many addictions and emotional connections to our lifestyle and certain foods. So not advisable, in my opinion.
exactly. And a lot of these people will see that as soon as they change, slowly scale out of it, because they've been living this way for some people 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And they think, I have sometimes yoga clients too, I'm sure you have, where it's like in the first month and a half, they're kind of like frustrated. It's hard. It's like the shifting of the mind and the body, and they're going through it. And then they realize on, maybe the second month, or it could be the first week in the second, but, they start to see like, wow, I'm not even like hungry anymore. Like I just feel happy all the time. I have high energy. And it's just based on those little changes. And to your point, we don't want to jump in. We're not the type of people to say, okay, well, guess what? This is like, like a Nazi camp now. You're not allowed to do this. It's like, yeah,
No.
it's funny because you're from Germany, but it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're like, okay, dude, point the finger at me. Yeah.
Amazing.
No,
No, that's so true though. Yeah, it's crazy.
sorry, dude.
It's,
It's terrible.
yeah, lost my train of thought there.
After that stab on. It's so funny.
Um,
Then jumping into a diet.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's not necessary to change everything overnight for sure. I feel like some people need it, like when they have the mentality for it, but it's very rare. And for those people who have a hard time in the beginning, even making those small changes, then their vision is just not powerful enough. They don't have a clear why. So it's very, very important to develop that first. Like, why are you wanting to make those changes?
Yeah, it's a really good place to start. And I think a lot of people sometimes they're just kind of like, well, it's the age of like impulse. You know what I mean? Some people are like, you know what? I had a bad day. Like I'm gonna hire a coach. It's a
Yep.
really hard job to understand what's the deeper root, what really triggered that, and really what's gonna be your driver to get you to the point. Because really, I mean, you and I are at a level where we want to work with people who are going to do the program, who are going to see the results. And it's not about money for us. It's about relationships and the transformations.
Absolutely. It's about making an impact and like really because we know like how good you can feel and we want that for everyone, right?
Not a question about it. So I guess what would you leave the viewers with today? I mean, is there a little nugget that you could give them just as far as, transforming their lives and changing their limiting beliefs and identity?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, follow your emotions. Whenever there's a negative emotion coming up, question it. What did I just think about beforehand? What's my perspective about this situation or circumstance that I feel bad about? And then try to change your perspective about it to something that's lighter, that feels better. We're so insistent on our perspectives a lot of times that we have those like blindfolds on and we can't even see anything else. But just try to do it anyways, and you will see like it feels so much better, and you will get rid of that stress. And the better something feels in general, the more it is in alignment with your true nature, and that's what it's all about. So, and the more you course correct yourself with that, the more you find yourself also automatically making better choices in your life.
Yeah. So well said. Yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, it's just win the day and try to enjoy the journey. If you're gonna put it as simple as possible, is just win the day, enjoy the journey, and remember why you started, what's gonna be driving you forward, what are your goals, and reiterate them. And obviously, getting a coach like you and I is super beneficial. I think the clients that I've worked with, and I know it's the same for you, because I was a client. Everyone just I was a client of Gary's. That's how we met. Phenomenal, and you know they say that they wouldn't have gotten as far as they would have without a coach. And I think, well, I know some of the greatest minds in the world all do have coaches, because it's hard when you're really trying to achieve your goals, because life gets in the way for everybody. So highly
Right.
recommend you reach out.
Yeah, exactly. Why figure everything out yourself if you can have a little bit of a cheat code there and work with someone who already went through all of that.
Yeah.
Give you the shortcut.
It's like, dude, I mean, it's like we got like the eagle's eye of it too. And it's like they're in the storm and I'm like, you're fine. Trust me, we've been there. It's like we've went through the misery already of, you know, battling ourselves and learning and becoming accustomed to the lifestyle change. And I mean, those trial by fire years, like you learn. Like it is trial by fire for sure. You learn. It's like a pressure cooker of life wisdom, you know, but it's a blessing at the end of the day because it puts us in a position to help a ton of people.
Yes, exactly. I'm very grateful for it.
Absolutely. So Gary, I appreciate you always coming, man. It's every week, and then
My
yeah,
pleasure.
awesome. Well, cool. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Obviously, you can reach Gary at Fruitful Solutions, and then myself at Betterself by Salman. I don't even know my own name, but I'll be posting in the description below as well. So take
Cool.
care, you guys. See you, Gary.
Bye.